They represent every corner of the world, inspiring us with their determination and triumph. Paralympians are athletes with a range of disabilities who gather every 4 years to compete in 28 different sports. Due to the pandemic, the Tokyo Games have been postponed until next year, but that hasn't deterred competitors from their rigorous training schedules.
In this programme, we'll meet 5 athletes from around the world whose stories embody all the willpower, strength and ambition that make up a superhero. I'm here at the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park in London, home to the 2012 Olympic and Paralympic Games. It's here 8 years ago that the world's top athletes gathered to demonstrate their physical prowess in sports like rugby, athletics and swimming. Now, with the Tokyo Games just around the corner, competitors are gearing up once again to go for gold.
Paralympians far and wide, wherever in the world you find yourself. One of the unique things is that they have taken a life that society has told them is broken, and they have turned it into something extraordinary.
Goggles are on, all set to go. 3, 2, ready, go.
In Minnesota, Mallory Wegman is training for her 3rd Paralympic Games. A swimmer since the age of 7, Wegman's talent in the water took her to the pinnacle of athletic success. The journey to the podium started with a tragic accident. 12 years ago, Wegman became paralysed after receiving an epidural injection to treat her back pain. She was 18 years old.
Some days I can talk about it and I'm totally fine. Some days I still get choked up when I talk about it. It's just one of those moments where, like, everything you know changes. I call January 21st, 2008 my sudden moment of impact. But the reality is our society is facing a sudden moment of impact right now. Everywhere in the world we are living it. And it makes that day for me so much more emotional because my heart feels the depths of it.
With the encouragement of her family, Wegman decided to find out more about the Paralympic movement.
On April 8th, 2008, just 2.5 months after my injury, I got back in the water for the first time. And it was my bridge. It bridged my past and who I was to my present and where I was at in that moment. And it led me towards something in my future, something that could be hopeful. And that was a game changer. My paralysis has made me the best version of myself. I'm a 2-time Paralympian for Team USA. I am a gold and bronze medalist. I'm doing things that I never dreamed possible, but it still doesn't take the pain away from that day.
This year, due to the pandemic, the 31-year-old had to get creative with her training when the pools were closed. In her home gym, she used a land-based Vasa trainer, which emulates swim strokes.
You trust me, don't let go.
You trust the sand?
Now she's back in the gym 5 times a week and in the pool as well.
10 of them, no paddles. I think my biggest piece of advice to somebody who is an aspiring Paralympian would be to not let other people determine your worth. What other people think of you is not a reflection of you and what you're capable of.
In addition to swimming, there are 3 other Paralympic sports that take place in the water. Paracanoe, for example, is a fierce short-distance sprint that requires massive upper body strength and balance.
Those who use wheelchairs like me are very often restrained from visiting areas on land with bumps or stairs. However, once I get into a canoe, there are no bumps nor stairs on the water.
Stroke by stroke, Monica Seriou canoes down the Kunaka River in Tokyo's Koto Ward, which will play host to many of the water sports in next year's Games. The 23-year-old knows the waterway well. She's been coming here for more than a decade.
What I like about being a canoeist and an athlete is that I've gained so much muscle and physical strength. And as I've gained this strength, I've become more confident in myself.
When Seriou first started canoeing here in the heart of Tokyo, she met Minoru Kimura, a homeless man whom she eventually befriended.
He was my first fan. He helped us clean and move our boats, and he would tell me stories about when he had gone overseas as a fisherman.
One day in a high school gym class, Seriou's life changed forever.
We were practicing a mat exercise called a handstand forward roll, but I lost my balance and fell vertically towards the ground in a strange manner. Then I heard a crack from my back, which I've never heard before. I was unable to breathe.
Seriou was rushed to the hospital. The injury had left her paralyzed below the chest.
After I was injured, I was deeply shocked by the fact that the life I was envisioning vanished all of a sudden. I was canoeing before I got injured and thought I would never be involved with canoe again.
In 2014, only a year after her injury, the Tokyo Paralympics were announced for 2020, and Seriou decided to begin training in paracanoe, which shortly afterwards was added to the Games. At the 2016 Games in Rio, with only 2 years of training under her belt, Seriou was able to place 8th. Inspired by her determination, Kimura found a job as a construction worker and was able to move into his own apartment.
Mr. Kimura was most delighted to support me from the very beginning towards the 2020 Games. But he passed away in his apartment while we were at training camp in the summer of 2018. I was terribly shocked and devastated, and I had a tough time practicing. But I still had a strong will to strive for 2020, carrying his hopes with me on my boat. I still can't help crying when I remember him.
Motivated by her special friendship, Seriou practiced canoeing 6 days a week in Koto Ward. She's also won some more admirers along the way.
After my visits to local elementary schools to talk about canoe and the Paralympics, more and more children are learning how to canoe. I feel a sense of achievement from this.
With the Paralympic Games right around the corner, the Tokyo native says she's looking forward to competing in her hometown.
As the Olympics and Paralympics will be held in Tokyo, I personally feel very secure, and I think it will be a great advantage to compete in my hometown.
Welcome back. 8 years ago, some of the world's most impressive athletes gathered here in London to compete for sporting glory. One of those sports in particular is so intense it was originally known as murder ball.
I think I love the speed of wheelchair rugby, the physical side of it. I'm an adrenaline junkie. Wheelchair rugby is just a massive adrenaline rush. I couldn't imagine it not being in my life.
After 17 years competing, Riley Batt shows no signs of letting up. The 31-year-old from Port Macquarie, Australia, is the captain of his country's wheelchair rugby team, as well as co-captain of Team Australia's Paralympic delegation. A sport invented in North America, wheelchair rugby is a mix of American football, ice hockey and basketball, Batt says. His chosen sport has a reputation for brutality.
But hey, we play the sport for a reason, and that's because we love it.
Batt didn't always love the sport. Born without legs and missing fingers, Batt grew up with a disdain for wheelchairs. Until the age of 12, he opted to get around on a skateboard instead.
Growing up, I always wanted to get involved in sports, but I really didn't know what sport I wanted to get involved in because growing up with my disability, I didn't want to be in a wheelchair. I didn't want to associate with anyone with a disability. Came a time where at school, I got stuck with the sport of wheelchair rugby, and all my able-body friends all jumped in these wheelchair rugby chairs and were bashing up on each other, and it was the first time in my life that I felt like I was on a level playing field with all my friends.
In 2004, at the age of 15, he made his Paralympic debut in Athens as the youngest wheelchair rugby Paralympian in the world. He went on to play in subsequent games for Team Australia, which won a silver medal in Beijing and back-to-back golds in London and Rio.
For me, putting on that Australian jersey, lining up for the national anthem with 11 of your best mates behind you on a team, if that doesn't blow the wind up here, I don't know what will.
For Batt, the Tokyo Games slated for next year feel like unfinished business. The Japanese team defeated the Australians by 1 point at the 2018 World Wheelchair Rugby Championships.
We've got a bit of a rivalry now with the Japanese team. I think we want a little bit of payback in Tokyo 2021. Tokyo is going to be my 5th Paralympic Games, so I guess you can call me an old man now.
Rugby isn't the only sport played in a wheelchair. There's also boccia, a Paralympic sport you won't find in the Olympics. It's a ball sport played by wheelchair athletes that requires tremendous precision and strategy.
It's kind of like a tactic sport, like chess, that you have to think about what people will do next and change your tactics so you can win. I think the best food of this restaurant is this fish ball. The triangle shape, right? This one is so good. It's so yummy.
Yoon Kei-ho is eating at one of her favourite noodle restaurants in Hong Kong's hectic Mong Kok district. A wheelchair user, she happened upon this spot 10 years ago when she was looking for something to eat. Unfortunately, many restaurants in the area were not wheelchair accessible, but the owner of this one called her over, set up a table outside, and she's been coming here ever since.
I love eating. I love finding some food in Hong Kong. I set up this blog and then share all the accessible restaurants in Hong Kong. I feel so happy because I can share some information that wheelchair users really need. I don't want disabled people only stay at home because I don't think wheelchair can limit us.
Besides food, Ho's other big passion is sport. At the Hong Kong Sports Institute, the 27-year-old is playing boccia with her longtime coach and assistant, Jet Li.
Okay, nice.
Boccia is one of the only Paralympic sports with no counterpart in the Olympic programme.
Boccia now is a kind of a sport for disabled people. The objective is to throw your ball near the target ball, which means the right ball. So who got the closest will win.
The game is mixed gender and divided into various categories depending on the functional ability of the athlete. Ho is classified as BC3, meaning she can use a ramp and an assistant while propelling the boccia ball herself.
And the interesting part is that Jet, the sport assistant, cannot look at the court or speak. He will like a robot.
Born with spinal muscular atrophy, a disease that progressively weakens her muscles, Ho is a full-time boccia athlete and ranked number 2 in the world in her class. She trains 5 days a week, honing her precision and strategy.
Being an athlete is a kind of job that I never thought about in my life before. But when I knew about boccia, I found that, okay, quite interesting. I'm not only playing the sport, I can represent Hong Kong.
Last year in Seoul, Ho won 2 gold medals in the regional championships, which automatically qualified her to compete in Tokyo. Ho says that through boccia, she's found a family of like-minded athletes. She made her Paralympic debut in Rio in 2016 and has her sights set on becoming number 1 in Tokyo next year.
Life is short. If you don't treasure your life is gone. Use like 1 minute to think about what do you like? What is your dream? Boccia totally changed my life.
Welcome back. Behind me is the London Stadium, formerly the venue of the Athletics in 2012. It's here that heroic feats of running and jumping wowed spectators the world over. In Cape Town, South Africa, we met one runner and long jumper who's had to overcome not just physical challenges, but also social stigma.
I think growing up with the stigma, it actually taught me that you need to define success for yourself. I grew up saying success is about making somebody smile and rising by raising others. And that's been the simple motto that I've lived with.
His name means success in the Zulu language. For Mpumelelo Mlongo, who broke his own world record in the 100-metre sprint last year in Dubai, it's a name that he strives to live up to. But his journey to this track in Cape Town began with a rocky start. Mlongo was born with amniotic band syndrome, a rare condition which caused complications in the development of his limbs and digits.
Basically what happens is that when you're in the womb, there's constriction of your limbs, and that constriction restricts blood flow. Means you don't grow as much and as adequately as any other child. When I was growing up, I was told I was a curse just because that's the way disability is seen in Africa. I was considered a child born out of black magic, and I had all these elders that looked at me as a curse that has been put onto the family. And it just becomes a thing that you become accustomed to. I'm doing dynamic drills.
From the time he started running in primary school, Mlongo played for able-bodied sports teams despite his condition. Until 6 years ago, when a chance encounter with a para-athlete inspired him to pursue an alternate path.
I ended up going for classifications, found myself at World Championships, and went to the Paralympic Games in Rio. It's never been planned, it's never something I ever dreamt of as a kid.
Mlongo says that because his disability isn't immediately apparent, it's caused issues for him in competitive sport.
One of the largest stereotypes that I've faced in my life is that I'm either too disabled for an able-bodied competition or not disabled enough for the Paralympics. And then I sit there like, okay, then where do you put somebody like me? At the moment, we're working towards the 2021 Paralympic Games, where we're obviously hoping to get a podium finish.
Takeoff was okay.
What I love most about being a professional athlete is that I can be a grown man that still plays in sand.
Beyond his efforts on the track, Mlongo is also a PhD candidate in chemical engineering at the University of Cape Town. But of all his accolades and successes, he's most proud of his improved relations with his family.
My proudest achievement with the 26 years that I've lived, I think it's been changing my grandmother or great-grandmother's perspective on disability. She never accepted me as a family, but on her deathbed, the last person she asked to see was me. I think Paralympics is the ultimate show of the human spirit. No matter who you are and where you come from, you can come together and hone a skill and find a family where you are accepted.
Finding a family and a sense of community. There are many reasons why the athletes we've met love their sport. It could be to represent their country or to strive for a long-held dream. Whatever the reason, they're united in their resolve to excel in Tokyo.